Paris C. Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show. Comedy on Power Talk. Thank you so much for making us part of your day today, wherever you are in this great world. And what an honor it is from the heart of the heartland of America to bring back a cosmic individual, somebody who made a lot of revelatory information, dropped a lot of revelatory information last week, one of which was the idea that when somebody poses the question, she first looks into her mind's eye to interpret what she thinks that person meant by the question, and then begins to speak, which is why we have this eternal pause that is intoxicating and allows things to reach a point of creative tension, nothing awkward, but then what comes out of her is, generally speaking, profound knowledge, and we barely scratched the surface, even by her own account. We touched on a lot of things, but in typical Jake Feinberg fashion, we just never really ever finished the story, and I tend to think that's kind of what my show is about, a long revolving door of stories, and eventually the circle will be completed. SiriAtma, Kaur, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you, Jake. So excited to be here again.
Was there anything that you felt like we didn't, square the circle on, that you wanted to just hash out? I mean, I don't spend a lot of time, I know how it feels, if it was a good feeling, so that's kind of how I feel about the interviews, but I don't listen back, but was there anything you wanted to riff on or clarify?
Well, I did listen back one time, and there were a few things that, in that moment, maybe I was being, as we all tend to be on ourselves more so than anyone else, just a little critical. And now that 5 days have gone by, I actually feel pretty solid in what we shared last time.
It was great. I mean, you felt you were self-critical, or maybe?
Oh, when I listened back, there were a few moments where...
Yeah, no, I mean, there's always stuff that you can... I mean, if I listen back to my first couple years on the radio, it's just, I mean, to hear me trying to feebly ask questions to people and really not having my voice. But yeah, I thought you were, I did want to ask you, I mean, did you thrive in sciences academically, or are you just a street scholar as it relates to the metaphysics, that whole deal, that whole thing?
Actually, science and biology and chemistry, those were some of my favorite subjects, math.
Wow. So you were one of those cats, didn't really have to, it just was a very kind of a natural understanding of that stuff, and you were able to, you didn't have to, I mean, not that you did love it, but it wasn't a struggle for you, so it was pretty, you didn't have to study very hard?
It wasn't a struggle for me. In fact, I found comfort in the fact that there's a formula, you plug in your variables,
right,
and you can rely on that formula. And actually, that's what really drew me to Kundalini Yoga and the whole phenomenon of the Kundalini energy. When I first went to class, I didn't really realize there were more than one style of yoga. And when the teacher finally said, yeah, we've been doing Kundalini Yoga for a couple months here, I went, and I've said in other interviews, it just felt like I came home to a part of myself that, it was so ancient and so new, all in one.
So last time SiriAtma and I talked, we were you're entering a program about for hypnotherapy, but you're not really going to be able to start that curriculum until, I guess, the next calendar year. Is that right? It's like in the winter?
Actually, I will finish my certification mid to late January. I'll take my exam on the 24th, and I am very, very excited to, just add that to my repertoire of what I have found for my own healing to be very profound. And I might even state that hypnotherapy is more sustainable than healing through Kundalini yoga practice or gong sound healing.
Why and why and let's just for the layperson listening around the world, why don't you talk sustainable as far as a livelihood or just sort of soul sustaining?
Oh, soul sustaining, long lasting,
Yes, yes,
yeah, effects and benefits. With Kundalini yoga, when you're in it, when you got your daily practice going, it's awesome. And same for sound healing, if you can do that on a regular basis. Uh, and then if you fall away, life happens, you get busy, whatever it is. Right now, the yoga studios are closing, sound baths aren't really happening except for one-on-one kind of thing, and yoga is more virtual than in person, and that really depletes the group energy. So,
absolutely. Yeah. No, how have you? I mean, I've seen you advertise for virtual classes, but is everything pretty much online? I mean, are you a lot of temples around the country have closed? I mean, they're just being responsible from a health point of view, but I mean, frequency wise, can you talk about like? I mean, you also are raising three kids, and it's exhausting, and then you look forward to you know that opportunity for the group dynamic to raise the frequencies and the overall vibration. But um, even though it's something that you'll still do, are you getting off as much as you would, or is it really hard to do it virtually?
it still feels amazing to teach virtually.
Right.
I'm actually not offering anything right now that is strictly virtual. I did back in March and April and May,
I
and
thought I just
then,
saw, I mean, by the way, I want to apologize because you sent me to that post and you were like, get some popcorn for it. And I immediately thought it was a repost of our interview, but then I started to look at it and realized it was not. And,
oh, that's okay.
no, and I just want to say, like, that drew a lot of that was a heavy storyboard that you shared. I, you felt like you had been receiving that kind of filth at that young an age.
Well, yeah, I mean, my earliest memory where I know exactly how old I was at my ninth birthday party. However, I have a pretty strong feeling that that was not the first time I heard those kind of comments made about me. I think at 9 years old, I was in third grade,
Right.
and I remember being much younger than that, and we've mentioned it before, doing the I think we have mentioned it before, doing the hand jive sort of games. And I said to one of my dad's friends, let me show you this. And I knew that to get the pattern correct, it would be easier for my hands to be upward coming down onto his palm. So I said, I'll be on top. And then there was some kind of,
Right.
you know,
Right.
sexual
Right.
connotation implied. And, I was probably only in first or second
Yeah,
grade.
Mike, that's unbelievable. I mean, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, what were I didn't. It was it required popcorn to get through that, but I didn't. What were? Do you still feel like that basic sort of uh, uh, masochistic? What's the right word? That same kind of domineering uh, is that male presence, that toxic masculinity, or that I mean that I couldn't imagine uh, one of my friends today. Now, I mean, you were 9 years old, and it was the 70s or 80s or whatever. It was a different time. Like we've all
Yeah.
been, like even when um, my brother and I were just reminiscing the other day about just like going to summer camp for 8 weeks, and the counselors would just beat us down, and we saw it as a rite of passage. Like it wasn't like horrible physical abuse, but I mean, kids were wearing sweatshirts on visiting day in the middle of the summer to cover up their bruises. It was just a different time, but I can't imagine the what would go down if somebody said that to my daughter. And
That sounds like hardcore abuse, covering up bruises.
Well, no, I mean, because it was like, no, I mean, that sounds worse than it is, but it was like, there was something called the dead arm. You get dead arms.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so like
unfortunately, my teenagers still give.
So dead arm, yeah. So I mean, the more things change, the more they remain the same. But the thing is that, so like essentially, the kid, they'd be like, "Yo, you got to wear a sweatshirt, and if you pull this off, then we'll take you to the deli, like we'll give you a bone, we'll give you a treat, because the camp food was terrible. It was the most amazing place I don't want to dwell on that, but can you, the way you remember it, can you just talk about the feeling that you had and at that time, and how you sort of maybe have made a point that in your relationships moving forward, not always perfect, but you've tried to look for men who do not disrespect women?
Yeah. The way I remember it, I just had a very... So actually, my mom has told me, I don't remember this, but my mom has told me... since young adulthood, this story of when I was about 2 or 3 years old, she would put me to bed every night. I had a couple of shelves that were floor to ceiling full of stuffed animals. I'd pick out a couple of different ones each night to sleep with, and she would usually sing me lullabies. Maybe she read me books too, but I distinctly remember her singing me lullabies every night.
Yeah.
And so she's sitting by the bed, and I'm picking out my stuffies, and she's waiting for me to come back over. So in that process of turning away from the shelf to head back toward the bed, I just stopped and stared at the blank wall. And she said I had this look on my face so that she knew whatever I saw that she couldn't see wasn't scary. I was completely mesmerized. It was like I was in awe of the beauty of whatever I was seeing. And she called my name several times, and when she would use my first and middle name, I knew she meant business. And still, I just didn't budge.
Wow.
It had no effect on me. And she said after a good couple of minutes, which seemed like an eternity, I turned to her and I said, "It's okay, Mommy, apparition." And I just got in bed like nothing happened. So I have a strong feeling that whatever my mind created, or maybe actual spiritual entity came through, I mean, I rationalize this as my super conscious, cosmic conscious, Christ conscious, Buddha conscious,
absolutely,
level of mind.
Yeah.
Just something was projected in a way so that my little 2 or 3 year old self could receive it, and I have a feeling that I received some sort of message from my highest self that told me I would always be okay. That, maybe some forewarning of you're going to face some hard times but I have always had a very strong feeling of I will always be okay. And I went about my life with that sort of outlook and mentality. So every single time that these jokers would come in, so it was like every single time it was so unexpected for me. Even though it had happened before, I wasn't tainted by that. I wasn't, it took a long time for me to get to the point where that's what I expected from men. So every single time it was this really hard hit of, going from kind of being on cloud nine in little fairyland before before that, because the veil's still so thin, right? Until
Absolutely.
we're,
Yes.
most schools of thought say 7 to 11, whatever it is, years old. Um, it's not until somewhere around 7 or 11 years old that, we kind of identify as physical. We're still more connected to source in those early years. So every single time one of those kind of comments was made, it was a very, I just remember so many times of going from, like a la 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 feeling to just, ugh, and it really hitting hard.
Really. God, that is not comfortable. I mean, you believe that you were, even when you were in the trance, like when your mom was calling you, that was your direct connection to source and the comfortability of the message coming through, that everything was going to be, that you were going to be okay no matter what.
At this point right now, that's how I understand it. My mom thinks that it was her sister that she never met that passed when she was a couple months old. So she was the
Wow.
firstborn
Wow.
of my mom and her siblings, Janice Ann, and she passed before any of the other 4 kids were born. So she thinks that since I was a little bitty, it was this little bitty spirit coming through. I mean, who knows? Maybe I am Janice Ann reincarnated, you know.
No, you're SiriAtma. I mean, the I just wonder if you take I mean, if my, if I guess your mom basically just being a tradition, even though she was a spirit, she is a spirit, she wouldn't accost people like that when they would make derogatory statements to a minor about sexuality at your birthday.
Oh, my mom wasn't around. My
Oh.
mom and dad split up
Oh,
before I
so it was
turned
always
one.
okay. So it was an animal farm with your dad was. What is your where is your dad, and what has he did he get the memo about the idea that he's going to, at this point, unless he's made a real course correction, he'll be heading back in the next lifetime working on the same Achilles heel things that have tripped him up in this lifetime? Or is he actually had a road to Damascus moment?
Well, so I just want to clarify. My mom, it's not that my mom wasn't around. My mom was a huge part of my
Absolutely.
childhood.
No, no, no.
Yeah,
You, it was just
I
separate. Yeah,
lived I
I
lived
did.
with her.
I
It
did.
was just these things would always happen when I was at my
Yeah, Friday
dad's.
night, it's Friday Night Lights, it was
Right.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and actually it was. It was every Friday night. I
Right.
stayed with my dad, and every day after school I was with him for a few hours until my mom got off work because he got off work earlier.
Mm.
So, uh,
Yeah, I know your parents were both involved. I wonder at this point, with you have all three of your kids are boys?
yeah, I'm a boy mom,
You're boy
all
mommy. Yeah,
boys.
you're boy mommy. So the my feeling is like my dream is that he would be like like almost the anti himself with your grandkids, or I don't know, maybe I'm just completely
He's
not.
actually never met any of my kids. He passed away when I was 12.
Okay, bless him. I feel like his presence is with us. How do you feel where is he, what kind of space is he in right now, do you think? I lost a friend, took his own life. There's never any like real. I know your dad didn't take his own life, but I mean, uh, my friend checked out, and on the surface, it looked like he had an ideal existence as a creative musician, and he had a heart of gold, um, and I didn't know him very well, but I've interviewed a lot of cats that knew him deeply, and they've had these intense dreams, all night dreams about being in this, just almost a hell realm, almost like Las Vegas, but everybody's on drugs, and it's you can't find your way out. And then all of a sudden, my friend Neil, who took his life, appears, and he's helping this other guy, Aaron, who I was interviewing. Aaron wants to get out of this place. It's freaking him out, and And so Neil's like, yeah, I can help you out. And he gets him out of the building. And then Aaron's like, why don't you, like he went up, he's like, why did you do what you do? Why did you do what you did? And Neil's like, well, we can get into it later. And then Aaron's like, come on, let's go, you know. And he's like, no, I can't leave here. And like it was a little disturbing just because you wonder really if you. I've heard a lot of people say, was it really that bad, Neil? And I'm not doubting depression. Believe me, I have my own anxiety, and and that kind of stuff. And I know how can just be. I mean, you can just get caught up in it and trapped in it. But I feel like if you, I don't know. I mean, if you check out for the wrong reasons, I feel like you could wind up in not a great place. Now, he's much younger than your dad, but where do you think your dad's at right now?
So my dad passed from cancer, lung cancer that spread all over his body.
Huh.
And I like to work with causal thought when physical symptoms appear. So the notion is that when it's something with the lungs, it's not expressing true desire or not being in tune with heart of hearts desire. So again, I want to be careful to not offend anyone. I'm not saying that oh, you're suffering from cancer, you're bringing this on yourself kind of thing, because again, even the worst of the worst, it happens in order to get our attention, because there's some kind of learning that could really come from having gone through that, in my humble opinion. And I know my dad was not faithful to my mom. That's why they split. I know that my dad was an Air Force pilot and a police officer. And I don't know many stories about his Air Force days, but I remember hearing him tell my older brother stories about being a police officer and in a really, really hard part of the inner city.
Oh, man.
And then
Of St. Louis?
yes.
Jesus. So I know those jobs. Listen, that is a conflicting. So he smokes cigarettes, though.
Yes, he smoked cigarettes.
So he, but I mean, the point is that he was in a. I mean, we call ourselves human beings, but we're still human animals, and he was seeing a lot of it's hard not to. It's just hard to not take that home. Or how do you get that out of your system when you see corruption, when you're dealing with corruption, when you're basically working as a justice officer of justice, and then the system itself. Sometimes you feel like the criminal justice system is working against you. A lot of that stuff is So yeah, if he had self-destructive patterns or I can't really blame him. I mean, he was obviously a really tough guy. So I just wonder if you think that. I mean, do you see characteristics of him? Not necessarily the bad ones, but do you see his spirit or the genetics of him within any of your boys?
My oldest son, well, I try to teach my boys to be really conscientious of how they're making other people feel, just in general.
Sure.
But I have spoken to my 13-year-old and 14-year-old about, how delicate the whole dating situation can be and what an effect certain comments, certain actions, certain behaviors can have on a young girl.
I wish I had a mom like yours. I wish I had a mom like you.
Yeah,
I mean, because it may not sink in now, but I didn't know how to. I wasn't off-putting. I didn't know what to say. I would love to have had a mom that was like, this is stuff you probably want to avoid, or but mine, um, so yeah, you make so I mean, um, yeah, continue. I mean, like I just feel
Well,
like
I've had,
yeah,
that kind of stuff has come up even before they really, uh, have made any moves where I'm like, that wasn't very nice. Pretty much because not even really because of who they are or what they're doing. It's more so because of my actions through my healing process. I had to explain to them, I'm sorry that I have this pattern of anger that came up for a while, and I I want to tell you a little bit about my childhood so that you understand, how triggering that was to have a male not respect my needs or act like my needs didn't matter or kind of thing. So just even something as simple as like with my 5-year-old, he hasn't gotten that talk yet. But he might come to give me a big hug, and he's all boy, he's so aggressive, and I've got really long hair and absolutely, well, I should say very little pain tolerance. And so something like where I'm like, oh, that hurts me, let go, let go. And I know he doesn't mean to hurt me. And at the same time, I do find myself getting a little triggered when I'm saying, hey, I need something different. This doesn't feel good to me.
wow,
And it's not respected. And I know that's because of those childhood wounds.
that is absolutely interesting. That is fascinating stuff. You have it's interesting because I mean some of your um, the yogic positions would say otherwise about pain. I mean, I don't. Some of the ways that you contort yourself doesn't seem like you have a low pain tolerance.
Yeah, and it's really phenomenal in the fact that when, if I'm going through a Kundalini Yoga Kriya, so basically it's like a self-imposed discomfort, right?
Right.
I know that that discomfort is either going to stay the same or get better. I know it's pain when it's getting worse. And then I give my body a break. I honor my physical body and do my best to not pass judgment in my own silent self-talk and meet my body where it's at in the practice. So I think that's the key difference is that if I'm in a Kriya or a white tantric yoga practice where we're doing things for 31, 62 minutes at a time, and your arms are up at 60 degrees and your shoulders are killing you and your biceps are killing you, and uh, you know I can I can breathe through that and say, okay, what is this discomfort inside showing me? I was taught at the last solstice event that I went to that that discomfort is also love. It's just love that's stuck inside in the dark, and
Mm-hmm.
you're feeling it in order to draw your attention to it so that you can kind of pull it out into the light, look at it from all angles, and learn what it's trying to tell you, which is likely for your soul growth and evolution. So,
What,
yeah,
just bef-
if it's self-imposed, I can recognize the purpose and focus on the breath and get through it. When someone else is hurting me, there's still a part of me that goes into fight, flight, or freeze. And maybe that's just normal human condition. And I think mine is amplified due to childhood experiences.
um, do you believe that there are any things that you? I mean, so many cats. I mean, just out of protection, your mom doesn't want to. Sometimes people don't want to tell their kids what really happened. Do you feel like you know? I mean, it's the misogynistic is the word I was looking for. Aside from the misogynistic comments and waking up late at night and just having to deal with that filth. I mean, do you feel like there are other traumas that you can feel intrinsically, but that you're not sure where they came from? I mean, are you pretty clear that you know everything that went down in your history, because sometimes people, because of trauma, they block stuff out, and then without recognition from people that were actually there. Um,
Yeah.
I just want to make
Yeah.
sure. I want
And
you.
really, I mean, I think that that's the most beautiful thing your mind can do is lock that away for you,
Yeah.
so that so you don't have to relive it, feel it, carry it into your
But you do
future.
feel. I mean, when you're a 5-year-old, just being a, he. I mean, believe me. I mean, I don't know if it's just. Anyway, the point is, the going against your will, going against your word, being too physical, making you feel it's triggering something like that. Um, you think the best way is to be able to lock it away, and
No, no, I just think that that's a beautiful thing that the mind can do. And I I do not feel that I have unlocked all of what my mind has locked
I
away.
understand. Okay, this is really
And
beautiful.
I
Yeah.
and I have to just sit at peace. You know, if I'm forcing it, it's it's gonna be uh, it's counterproductive. And maybe that's something I don't need to remember. You know,
Yeah, the question, that's, I think you're 100%. I think the idea is that, maybe, well, I mean, I think that if stuff does, if all of a sudden something falls through, comes through you that is unexpected and also revelatory and disturbing, the question is, can you receive it in grace and not get destabilized? And that's easier said than done. I believe you're at a point when you can, but I think the point is that there are some doors that are still locked away. I mean, I know that I'm clear. I remember the biggest trauma that I had was pulling the release brake on a van we had and smashing it into a tree. And my parents were just, they were upset, but more just relieved that I didn't go into the road. And I think I couldn't watch Scooby Doo for a while. I remember being a wise ass. My dad would throw me on my bed, and just, but he was, I mean, that's it. I mean, we were, basically a totally loving family. So I wonder, it's not, you don't have to answer the question, but, um, you know, when those doors, if they do open organically, it's kind of a matter of how do you, I think that's, Siri, I mean, that's where I mean, I just want to start and ask you when you got to a point when you got shaken to when something happened to you that would normally rock somebody's to the core and maybe really throw them into a bad space, but because of years of cultivation and just sincerity and walking your path, that had happened and it didn't shake you to your core, and you realized that your capacity for handling significant amount of psychospiritual weight was very much within your constitution, and you weren't going to be phased by something like that.
I had a boyfriend in college, and the university I was attending, was highly renowned for their psych program, and that was my area of study. And we had a trauma resource center, and every student was gifted one session there, at no cost. And that one session that I took the university up on, I remember her pointing out to me that something, that what she was the first one to pull to my attention that what happened to me as a little girl, because those kind of things got said in front of me about other women, in front of me about myself
Right,
sometimes.
right.
Um, but the moment that it crossed the line and one of my dad's friends tried to get physical with me, my brother and my dad did come to my rescue. and banish that person from our lives.
Oh, geez.
Um,
Well, I mean, I guess I applaud them. I mean, I'm glad they did that.
yeah, and it helps me understand that I'm not going to get anywhere in my healing by being angry with them for the things that they did that for whatever reason they were oblivious to the effect it was going to have on me. Um, I also know that I have had a tendency to be too nice. And even in my hypnotherapy child rescue journeys, my guide, my therapist, my teacher, she was kind of like, so what's that like when you go back into that situation as your adult mama warrior self now and get that little girl the hell out of there and go put her in your sanctuary with your spirit guide and your highest self, and then you go back in there and tell your dad and your brother what's up, what's that like, what's that conversation like. And as I started telling her, I try to tell him, this is what this caused for me, and at the same time I know that you were doing the best with what you knew how. And she was kind of like, screw that. And so there began my balance of uh, you know peaceful warrior until you need to get fierce kind of thing. So
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated by that, the SiriAtma, the ferocity of you at some point. I mean, um, you talk about this guided visualization. I've been looking forward to it since we did our last interview. I apologize about the messages coming in. I'm sorry. I am the floor. You are a very good teacher, and I think my sense is that this is not a bad thing. I think there are people that go around in a very kind of almost pompous way. They have a lot of talent, but they just are. And I like them. I don't dislike them, but they pummel you with. I mean, they're very high energy people, and they are very set in their ways and fiercely independent, and they will just pummel you with information, and they don't have. It comes across as like not incredibly soft or empathetic, or and it can be exhausting because they're throwing so much terminology at you, and ultimately they're just caught up in their own ego. And I just
and that's
feel
the Shakti pod, when you're so spiritually enlightened that you just
that's
can't.
right. No, because
Yeah.
in no way was it like, wait, I mean, I just let it go. You're, like we talked about, the timbre, the cadence, and then just the processing of information. I think you are. I'm not saying people underestimate you. I think that you are like at this point, like basically a gem that is being chiseled out. Um, and I think it's the best way to grow and develop a following. And I mean, not that that's your primary goal, but I mean, ultimately, you'd like to believe that you're having an impact on people. And I think, um, I feel that very strongly. So, um,
Yeah, I love that analogy, and that's really how I see all of us, these kind of gems in the rough and multifaceted gems, and we can polish each little facet, each little finger cliff, each of
well,
those.
there's a fine line between, because I think the there are cats that, like, I don't know how to use the analogy here, but they're so spiritually enlightened and plugged in and fired up, and maybe compensating for other areas that they don't feel totally comfortable in, but it's like geysers, like, they're shooting off these, it's almost like not for attention, but it's just, you can't help but notice it's distracting.
It
But
could
but
it could be
the
hiding
hidden
in the light.
yeah, the hidden gem is the person, the being that is the stillness and the sincerity and the, and not somebody who's going to be lighting their hair on fire to get people's attention, and not going to contort themselves into a position where they can't get out of. And so you've kind of mastered that unconsciously, I think, and probably through your own life experience. I would. So I mean, SiriAtma, the floor is yours. We are now about to enter into what SiriAtma refers to as the guided visualization.
And Jake, if you don't mind, before we do,
Yes.
I know that I'm feeling just a little unfinished on one thing we touched on.
Please,
I also
I mean,
recognize
please
we
wrap.
have
Yeah, I mean,
little time left, so
No,
I'll
no,
make
no,
it
no, no,
quick.
no, 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 no. I was really. This is part of my habitual nature is not, finishing the circle. So, by all means, take as much time as you want to clarify or to fill in.
Well, when you were asking, at what moment was it more like a
Right.
recognition of,
Yes.
there's, so back to that therapy appointment at my university, she pointed out to me that because, like I said, someone tried to get physical with me, and she pointed out to me that because I came in with this thought of, I don't know why I'm having all these problems in every single relationship I enter into. It's always they're the perfect guy until the very first time they demean another woman or look at another woman or purposely or unpurposefully instill jealousy in me.
Right.
And then it just all comes crashing down. It's like I have them on this pedestal and they fall from grace and it's over. I can never see them the same way. And she helped me recognize that what happened to me when that friend of my dad's attempted something wouldn't be traumatic if somebody tried to do that to me now, but it was traumatic as a little girl. And she helped me realize that now that I am, at that point, a young adult, I could say to this feeling, this memory, you don't have control over me anymore. I'm running the show. I choose. I'm empowered. So that was a turning point for sure. And even still, and even with those things that are still locked away from me, it might simply be my unconscious fear that's keeping that closed. Here I am consciously saying, no, I'm ready. And there could be subconscious, unconscious layers of fear that just haven't been thrown on the table of consciousness yet, that's keeping that locked away. And actually so the very first time I went to a solstice event with 3HO, and, some gong master is leading the gong bath that evening.
You're a gong master.
I don't think of myself as a master of anything.
Right, exactly. We're all
I do love to offer gong sound healing. And
do you do singing bowls too and things like that?
I have a couple of singing bowls.
Yeah, you go deep into
I'm
that.
not as well versed on those,
Yeah,
and they're
I love
not
bathing.
as high quality
I love to bathe
as my gong.
Yeah, I dig.
My bowls aren't as high quality as my gong, so I prefer the gong.
Sure.
Other folks that have really high quality singing bowls, those I always appreciate being bathed in those sounds. And I remember that gong session was definitely, it was the strongest experience I had had at that point, and nothing has really topped it since because of my experience and what I felt and saw in my mind's eye was myself running through these tunnels or channels or canals, and I had no idea what I was looking at back then, but now it seems more like either like the neural pathways or maybe even the nadis, the energy lines within the body,
Yeah.
And so I saw myself going through those, and the sound kind of chasing me and pushing me, and it was like I was running from the sound, and I got to a place where it was like all locked up or dark, and I was afraid to enter and like turn the lights on and sweep the cobwebs out and see what the heck is going on in there. So maybe it's different areas of mind or whatever. And in the gong, now I'm in my visualization, I'm seeing the physical gong that I saw up on that stage before I laid down and closed my eyes coming at me like so fast. There's nowhere to go. I'm trapped. I've got to go in there and turn the light on and uncover. So that was a really powerful surrender point too, and
What
just
happened when you accessed that realm? I mean, was it an immediate revelation or just
no, it was. I think that was the revelation of recognizing there's let's not waste any more time, self. let's let's go into those dark corners and stop being so afraid of what I'm gonna find there.
and yeah, I think part of your aura and charisma is how extroverted you are, and not in a like a overly bombastic way, but I really hope that that you don't you know um, get hung up on that part of you. It's one of the best characteristics that anybody can have, and so many people fall short in it, and they wallow in greatness, they wallow in self-importance, and they hide, and and you are just so yeah. Whether those doors ever come unlocked or not, whether they're just not ready yet, whether it's ever going to come, um, it seems to me like I mean, you're more than you have the ability to handle it, which for some people, I mean, I've been through my own travails, and you just never underestimate the power of the spirit and the soul to give you guidance and wisdom more than anything else.
Yeah, I I I feel like I'm in a good place. I'm at peace with the healing that has taken place even just recently. And I recognize that I'm in the infancy stages of, really wrapping that all in unconditional love. We're like you were talking about, getting your dad throwing you on the bed when you were being a wise ass and whatnot. I appreciate that lyric from one of Nako's songs where he says, "Love with condition, a family tradition."
Right.
It's um, like you say, we're human animals, and at the same time, we are fractals of the divine. So the two coming together is what makes us truly human. Those animalistic instincts, the lower triangle of chakras, and then that divinity, the higher triangle of chakras, and then right at the middle sits the heart, which is said to be the only chakra from which we're truly human. Animalistic below, divine above, more angelic above.
Mm.
And I like, your arms and hands are extensions of your heart center, and your hands represent your purpose. So it just all makes sense that it's playing out here on Earth.
Well, and it's the
And
same thing that it was kind of revelation, but with this one cat that I'm working on, the definitive autobiography of Johnny Vodakovich. He goes you're not playing a drum set. He's like the drum set is an extension of your heart and your arms and your legs and your fingers and your brain. So all that rhythm that's coming out is coming out of you, and the idea that the drum set is not even there. I mean, it's just not even, and so you're spot on, and that. Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to bathe in this guided visualization. I don't know if I'm going to be an active participant, but the floor is yours, SiriAtma.
Okay. So anybody who's listening and participating, joining in,
By the way,
just
before you go on, I just want to say the analytics off our first interview have been phenomenal. I don't the numbers are huge in terms of downloads, and I think people really dug it.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm happy that it's just getting different wheels turning
Oh
and
yeah. No,
maybe
it's beautiful.
opening
I
up
mean,
new
people,
windows.
you're bringing a lot of light to people. So, and maybe people learning stuff about you that they didn't even know before, and so yeah, that's what my whole show is about. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you
Yeah,
for that.
of course.
Okay, so anyone that would like to go on this little ride here
Yes.
for this guided visualization, just make sure you're comfortable, and as we go along, please give yourself permission to continue to adjust your physical body and get even more comfortable as you need to. Maybe let your eyes close down if that feels okay. And we'll start by just breathing and relaxing. And just settle in. That's it. 5 to 10 cleansing breaths. That's it. Just filling the lungs and releasing. Nice and easy. And now, when you're ready, please just start to notice the right side of the body. The breath moving in and out on the right side. Breath just flowing in and out on the right side. Moving through. The side of yang energy. The side of the doer. The archetypical masculine side. The solar side. The daytime. Fill the right side of the body with white light. Let it flow from the tip of the right side of the skull to the tip of the right toe. And that's very good. Now when you're ready, taking all the time that you need, start to draw your attention to the left side of your physical body. The left hemisphere. Just let your breath start flowing easily through the left side. Recognizing that your body is porous. Flowing easily through the left side of the brain, left side of the torso, the vital organs on the left side, the side of yin energy, the side of just being. Breathe through the left side. The lunar side. The feminine within us. Night. Fill the left hemisphere with light flowing from the left side of the skull to the tip of the left toe. Hear the sound heavy in the back of the throat. Let it take you deeper into relaxation. That's it. Let any other sounds around you take you deeper into relaxation. Breathing and relaxing. Now when you're ready, again taking all the time that you need, create a channel of breath, of light, chi, energy. Whatever you feel or see is perfect. And let your breath flow up and down the column of the spine now. A blend of the right and left hemispheres. A marriage of the masculine and feminine, of yang and yin, the solar and the lunar, within your very body, offering balance and peace, strength, and centeredness. Let it flow. And when you feel completed, taking all the time that you need, you may simply open your eyes, return awake, alert, and refreshed. bringing with you all that's meant to be remembered, and giving yourself permission to return to this state, this way of breathing, whenever you wish to feel balanced and centered. Give yourself permission to practice.
Wow. I'm here.
Welcome back.
Yeah. That was remarkable. I feel like I now have something that I can use to practice on my own because of the guidance you just gave.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and I got this really interesting freak energy like through my hands right at the end. A sensation in my hands, a lot of it felt really good. I happen to be in a very safe space. I hate that word, but yeah, I'm in like a very it was very silent and
There was a lot of background noise happening here on my end.
Yeah,
My pups are getting really
yeah, of course they are. They want
frustrated with me that they're outside.
Yeah, they're banging the door and
they're like, "Let me in. I feel you're doing that thing. I want to be close to you. Do that thing."
Man, so yeah, this morning I drive here and I am so distraught. I'm not overly distraught about it, but just the idea of the pandemic and the amount of loss that we have, and so my lungs begin to get constricted because of anxiety. And then my first thought is, oh my God, I have COVID. And then you put me into that kind of guided state, and I feel my lungs are so full, and I wonder why I ever felt that kind of dis-ease to begin with. So,
well, and it's all about the breath. Our body follows our mind follows our breath. So,
what was was that like a timer that kept going off? I heard it sounded like a heartbeat kind of thing, or is that like I kept hearing it boop boop, like this sort of like.
Oh, I didn't put my phone on Do Not Disturb because I didn't want to miss your call.
I know. No, I just wasn't sure if that was.
I think that was notifications coming through.
Sure. No, you're a popular person. I mean, the thing is
Well, I just put the call out for clients in January, February, and March, and oh my gosh, the response.
Yeah, can you please save me a spot? I didn't reach out. I don't want to lose my spot.
Yeah. When we later today, I'll get you on the calendar.
It was so in person, in a normal, whatever that word means. I mean, back in some other time,
normal. You mean that setting on the dryer?
Yes, no, that's a great call. What? Not that you want to, no ego involved, but oftentimes, I mean, how many people wind up actually going into a dream state, and what is the ultimate feedback? I guess what I can say is I feel so warm right now.
I love that for you.
Yeah,
And Jake, that's not hypno. I couldn't responsibly induce hypno right now before my certification is
sure,
final,
sure.
or in this sort of setting where I have no idea how people are responding. We could set some safety measures in place, like I'll walk you back up, and if you don't wake up, you'll wake up because everybody wakes up. But if you don't wake up, you'll hear my singing bowl chime, and then you'll immediately wake up. But then,
Mm.
even still, I don't know. There'd be no way for me to follow up with people, so we have no idea who will tune in. Uh, but
But I mean, the
hypno,
hypno is not. That's not what. This was just more.
this was just guided visualization.
So when you say guided, you were accessing the mind's eye. I mean, what is guided visualization? Because obviously we're doing this. I can't see you. We're doing this over the phone.
Yeah.
So I mean, is this a third?
It's like it could be guided meditation,
Right.
hopefully visualization, hopefully, because we talked last time about how the mind doesn't work in dialect. The mind works in images. Hue, man. Hue is light, man is mind. So even studying like the inner workings of a camera and how that light is captured and able to reproduce the image, and then that's what our eyes do. However, we can do that in our mind. We're of light mind. We've got literally light in the mind that can produce those images. And that's what has such a powerful effect on bringing us back to homeostasis. The breath can do it alone. And when you pair it with those images, and when we actually get into hypno and you're undulating between conscious and unconscious, subconscious, anything other than conscious mind is unconscious. So uh, you're that undulating, and even sometimes I'll be asking clients, to tell me what they see and feel, and so that's gonna bring them back up to consciousness, and it might take them a while. So I'll give them time, and that undulating, instead of people just being out, that's what's going to help them remember it more, and therefore it becomes a tool that they can. It's an image in the mind, so just within a fraction of a second, it can come back into the mind and help you respond differently.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't really want to. I think. Do people say they didn't want it to end when you were with them?
Well, I've actually only induced trance all on my own once, with my teacher right there, able to, um, you know, interject if she needed to.
Right.
So I've led the guided visualization several times, and this is just one of so many, and but for trance, I did that for the first time in my most recent training session this past weekend, and yeah, she noted, just like in gong sound healings, it goes by so fast. It's like you lose all concept of time. That really an hour went by already. That felt like 10 minutes. That's what I always hear
Right. Well, that's the
from
same thing.
gong.
But yeah, and that's the ultimate masters of music. They a lot of cats will go out in like a duo and just play like horn and drums, and they will go off on this improvisational, basically guided meditation of music. It's not ambient music; it's very burning music, and it can go off the rails sometimes. But the point is, when they stop, they feel like they're like, "Yo," people are like, "You just played for 45 minutes," and they're like, "Felt like 10 minutes," I think, I feel like I have. I'm not using the right terminology, but the hardest thing for me was to sort of split my body in half, where I was feeling the left side of my body and the right side.
Mm-hmm.
and I think that there's just a lot of. I just kind of need an oil change or something. Like I need to get unshrouded in that realm because that I couldn't really authentically feel everything down to my left foot or my right foot.
And that's good feedback because I was sort of rushing us along.
Well, I
Normally
didn't
I'd
feel that.
take,
I didn't. No, I mean, I could have kept going for. I mean, but
well, as far as, once I give you an image that I'm hoping you'll pull
yeah.
in your own perfect way, it's better if I can give 10 really long seconds. Uh, and I was on average giving us about 5.
Yeah, I want to go like stretch it out even more. I mean, what is I know you got to go pack sandwiches and that stuff, but I still want to get one of those ham and cheese sandwiches. But Syria,
But we had turkey and cheese,
turkey. That, I mean, whatever.
spicy chicken,
Oh, it's
all kinds
great.
of
I mean, I
stuff,
love it.
but
I'm in. I'm in. But
some sun butter for the vegetarians.
I love sun butter. Why is it SiriAtma and not SiriAtman?
Well, what's interesting is so Atman is soul,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And Atma is sort of the feminine version, if you will, of Atman. However, there are males with the spiritual destiny name SiriAtma also. So
Now let me ask you
I
because I assumed it was like being a guy who took Latin. There's the you know male, female. Like I figured that was it. But if you like, so that was that connotates more the female archetype. SiriAtma. But like why would a male take on? Are they would that indicate that they potentially their superpower lies more in the divine feminine? Why would they take that as opposed?
I have understood it as we're here to receive learning, and maybe that supreme Atman, that masculine, that aggressive, that penetrative force of creation, that's maybe that's not suitable for we humans here on earth with a mission to receive the learning. And city is highest, great, or pure. I stalled there for a second because
No, I liked it.
it's not
I thought that was part of your. I like that. I think
it's
you should
it's
stretch
not
that.
greatest. I always sometimes it takes me a moment to remember it is highest, but it's
Mm,
not greatest. It's highest or great. Maha is greatest. So city is highest, great, or pure, and then Atma would be soul, essence, or self. And with any spiritual destiny name, we could all relate to all of them because we are, at the very, very core vibration of what we are, the same. Uh, this me associating my own positive ego, my own sense of separateness with these phonetics is said to pull me toward my spiritual destiny, hence it being a spiritual destiny name, of recognizing that I am of that highest essence, that pure self with a capital S.
recognizing. Wow.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think
So
it's
we're all SiriAtma,
yeah, but
and
that
we're all of the wonderful names.
Well, I'm going to let you go, but I think it would be nice to do another guided visualization. I know when can you actually start doing hypno work? Not till January or
Technically, my exam being the 24th, I can start inducing trance on Monday, January 25th, and I'm doing plenty of the first step, which is like, a Q&A to really get a feel for what sort of journey I need to guide folks on, what I feel will help them the most. And, before we can get to deep, deep, deep issues, we always establish a peaceful place, a highest self, a spirit guide.
Yeah, except on the Jake Feinberg show, you just dive right in, though. Here's
But
about.
Jake, I don't know that we'll be able to do hypno on the radio, be just simply because I wouldn't be able to follow
You
up with
said
everyone.
you said virtually it's effective, so it would have to be done over Zoom or something. I thought,
Yeah,
yeah,
virtually, so
yeah,
that
yeah,
so that at least I can connect one-on-one with
absolutely.
anyone that's involved.
Well, I just, as you go out into your day, I just want to know to let you know that you are having a very profound effect on a lot of people, and a lot of people will never acknowledge that, and they'll never give you the feedback that sometimes you're curious about. That's just a lot of people are guarded about that, or they don't know how to express it in words, or they're just not
Or
used.
how to get in touch with me, maybe. But that's okay because it's very, it helps me stand even more um, convicted.
Yeah, absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
so I appreciate the feedback, and yet I am truly not seeking it out, but it does always warm my heart when someone shares with me just how profound, Kundalini practice or gong sound healing or now, yay, hypnotherapy
Yeah.
will be for them.
When you say you feel it in your bones, that what does that feel like in your bones? I know like a bone bruise is very painful, but what does it feel like in like that's different from saying I feel it in my soul or my gut. You feel it in your bones. That you're
So, it's like um, I can feel it in my soul in the fact that it was so powerful for me. And when I say I feel it in my bones, it's almost like I cannot mess this up here in the physical. Like I I didn't have the money laying around to take this training,
right.
but I made it happen. I went to the bank and took out a loan, and there's no feeling of, oh my gosh, what if this is a flop, or what if I don't get any clients? What if I'm never able to reimburse my investment? It just all, it was literally like there was some sort of strings on my bones, like taking me through these motions of calling the bank and signing the paperwork and setting up sitters and just all the sacrifices that had to be made to take this training. None of it was ever even questioned. It was just, of course, this is what I'm doing.
It was just a dance with life. It's beautiful. You were like a marionette, but not in a
Yeah.
bad way. You were just dancing. Yeah, it's real, and you really. So, my you really had a. Thank you for healing me today, SiriAtma. I know that I am always trying to learn more about myself, about my true nature, about the Tao, um, and then to have somebody that is, um,
Well,
who would
I
normally,
just
yeah,
I just want to say you are quite welcome for, guiding you through the experience, but you healed yourself.
absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I get that.
I just want to
My biggest
make that
problem is that
very clear.
yeah,
I'm not claiming to be able to heal anyone.
well, I don't. And that I'm just saying, for me, it's having a discipline or a practice. It's like similar to, you know, um, you know, going to see someone as a workout coach because you want that experience with another sentient being, and you're going to work and be much more focused as opposed to being given this stuff and do it on your own. I just know that I'm going to have issues later where I'm going to have constricted breathing or anxiety, and it's just much harder for me to do it on my own. So, as a guide, um, I'm indebted to you, but you're not, you're not a medicine woman or anything like that, So I mean, I, I, I thank you so much, SiriAtma.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
And maybe we can do it again before the end of the new year. It would be. I'd love to do another interview with you. Whether or not a guided meditation is called for. Maybe we can determine that later.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Much love to you, my friend.
Thank you. Right back to you, Jake. Thank you so much for, your support and for your invitations.
Always, my friend. Always will. The endless well of enlightenment, and so happy to have found you on this path. So carry on and go get that sun butter ready.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye,
Satnam.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Meditative day on the Jake Feinberg Show. Thank you for all tuning in. We'll see you later on Power Talk.